What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys everything you need to know before going out and shooting your first wedding. With absolutely no fluff, I'm not trying to sell you guys a course. I'm going to teach you exactly everything I know. And listen, I'm not the best videographer. I'm not like Ray Roman or Justin Porter or any of those guys. I've been shooting weddings for like the past 6 years, so I think I've got a good understanding of how to shoot them. Ladies and gentlemen, before this video actually begins, be sure to leave a comment down below of something that you're uneasy about after watching this video. Leave a comment if you have a wedding that you're going to shoot in a couple days that you need advice for. And I'll be sure to leave a comment from here on out on this video only of what you should be doing and to answer any questions that you guys have. You know, if you're feeling nice, you want to show your boys some love, leave a subscribe, leave a like. We're here for a good time, not a long time. Anyways, let's get back to the video. So no fluff, like I said. I'm not here for watch time. I'm here to give you guys exactly what you need to know. So with that being said, we're gonna cut this video up in 2 sections: before the wedding day and then during the wedding day. I've got 2 full pages to discuss with you guys. So let's start with before the wedding day. Before the wedding day, you guys want to make sure you have all the essential gear. And when I say essential gear, you will need at least 1 lavalier mic. You need at least 2 cameras. You might get away with just 1, but please, for the dear love of God, get at least 2. Rent 1, buy 1, do whatever it takes to get another camera. Just be safe. And make sure 1 shoots 4K. It's not a deal breaker if you don't have a camera that doesn't shoot 4K, but it definitely helps. You want a shotgun microphone, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Obviously a tripod. If you have a gimbal, that is a plus. If you don't have a gimbal, I would suggest renting 1 out. And then a monopod. Now, this goes for, say, depending on what camera you're using, your camera might have some sort of stabilization built into the body. If it does, you may be able to get away without using a gimbal, but I would definitely recommend it. Next on the list is timeline. Make sure you freaking own it. Work with a photographer before the big day on the timeline. Make sure you have enough time before shots, after shots. Make sure you have enough time to set up everything. Just make sure that the photographer and your timelines align so that you aren't going to be stressing and worrying about how you're going to set up for the ceremony, how you're going to set up for the speeches, how you're going to do this, how you're going to do that with absolutely no time. Build yourself time. Another thing is, try not to shoot solo. If you can, bring a colleague, bring someone who actually knows what they're doing when it comes to shooting weddings so they can assist you on that day. They've done them before, they can help you out, and they'll be able to assist you when you need it the most. Make sure you pack extra SD cards and make sure you pack extra batteries. If you're coming from shooting like cars or interviews or, you know, house tours, things of that nature, weddings is a completely different ballgame. You'll most likely leave the wedding shooting upwards of 200 gigabytes your first one, hopefully, given if you do use 2 cameras and depending on what cameras they are. For me personally, I usually pack around 300 gigabytes of SD cards per camera I have. So if I'm using 5 cameras on a wedding day, for example, at 300 gigabytes each, I'm packing around 1,500 gigabytes worth of SD cards. Not to mention, make sure your SD cards are fast. That is key. If you're shooting 4K, V60 may do it, V90 will do it. And at the end of the day, for SD card speeds, it just matters what camera you have. But make sure they're fast SD cards and make sure they are reliable. Next on the list is don't shoot log unless you're really good, unless you are like fantastic. Weddings are fast paced, they're unpredictable, and you never know what you're gonna walk into. If you're not comfortable with shooting log yet and you just kind of do it for interviews and you get it right, I definitely wouldn't recommend doing it for weddings. A lot of the time, for me, for example, when I first started shooting log, I didn't know how to properly expose it. And a lot of the times on a wedding day, you're indoors, you're in dark areas. And the last thing you want is a beautiful shot to be ruined by some grainy shadows or a grainy this or your log's just not there. Of course, this is all kind of dependent on what camera you have and what log setting, whatever. But if you're not comfortable with shooting log and you don't know how to expose it properly on the fly, don't use it. Just feed into what your camera wants and feed into what you know. If you don't know how to shoot log that well, don't shoot it. Another thing to note, make sure you arrive early on the wedding day. I usually try to arrive 30 minutes before I actually have to greet the bride and groom, but it's all dependent on location. For you, it's your first wedding, I would try to arrive around an hour early, get a lay of the land, let all the anxiety and stress kind of flow out of your body when you're sitting in your car, setting up your gear, kind of hang out for a while, just kind of relax. Another thing before the wedding day that you want to pack is snacks and water. Make sure you pack a lot of water. Water, 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 water. You're going to be moving around a lot. You're going to be on your feet for probably 10 hours that day, depending on where your package is, but you're going to be on your feet, you're going to be moving around, and you're going to get thirsty. Another thing is make sure you plan accordingly. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the timeline that you guys are provided. Make sure you guys plan enough time that what you will need to do. For example, if you only have 10 minutes to set up for the ceremony, make sure that when you arrive to the ceremony, your camera is already pretty much set up and ready to run. You just have to toss it on a tripod, set it up the day beforehand. Make sure you plan accordingly. Make sure you, if they're doing an outdoor ceremony and it might be windy that day and you don't want to take any chances, make sure you add some sort of windscreen to the lab the night before. Make sure you do things that will save you time on the wedding day. And last but not least, before the wedding day, the last thing you'll need to do is do what's easier for you. I can go off on a list of things for you to do. I can go off on how to exactly copy everybody and do all. Listen, at the end of the day, if you're watching this video and you feel uncomfortable about using a gimbal, if you feel uncomfortable about using a monopod, if you feel uncomfortable about any of it, don't do it. Find a way that works for you. If you feel like you work better shooting log, do it. If you feel like you can shoot better just by having a tripod with wheels on it, just freaking do it. I wouldn't recommend it, never, but do it if that is what you choose to do. Now time for the meat and potatoes during the wedding day. Now this one's gonna cause some commotion and a lot of people will advise against it, but it just doesn't make any sense. Make sure you are obtrusive. Make sure that you are seen. Don't be a fly on the wall. You'll find a whole bunch of people trying to tell you, stay in the background, follow the photographer, and just be a fly on the wall. Don't do that. Don't. You will be forgotten. You don't want to be forgotten, especially if it's your first wedding. You don't want to potentially miss a first look. You don't want to potentially miss any important moments throughout the day because the photographer forgot you were there. And this also goes for, say, if you want to get a shot, speak up to the photographer, speak up to the couple and ask for that shot. I know when I first started out, a lot of the photographers kind of ran the day and I kind of let them do it, and I didn't let them do everything. And I was just kind of the fly on the wall, and I got kind of nervous to ask photographers and couples to get my shots. And I was like that for a few months. Like I was petrified because the photographer is going to think, who is this videographer, you know, stepping on my toes? And listen, at the end of the day, you are hired for your job. They are hired for their job. You need to be sure that you get all the shots that you need. So while we're on the subject of shots to get, be sure you know what your couple looks like. Get a general idea of who they are as people. If they're adventurous, if they're more romantic, if any of those key traits, try to line up shots that will, how do I put this? Try to line up shots that'll make sense to them. You know, if it's a real outdoorsy couple, you know, they like hunting, they like adventures, they like rock climbing, they like fishing, you know, real down to earth kind of couple, you don't want to have a shot of the groom spinning her, you know? You want more of a shot of them running through a field. You want more of a shot of them having fun with each other, kind of playing around. Kind of read the couple, read the room, and plan accordingly of what shots that you think would benefit the couple. And I can't stress this next topic enough. I cannot. Don't get so artsy. Just get your freaking shots and make sure they are in focus, properly exposed. Make sure they look amazing. Just get the shots. Don't try to get so artsy. When I first started out, I thought if I wanted to get more weddings, I had to get really amazing artsy shots, you know, shooting through the leaves, shooting through bushes, you know, I had to do these sweeping motions and all this. And at the end of the day, I didn't know what I was doing. And I missed a lot of important moments because I was just too focused on how can I get artsy here. The last thing you want is to be shooting a first look and you had this whole idea planned out where you were gonna pan away from a tree and then they were gonna do their first look, and then they did their first look and you're still behind the tree. You don't wanna miss the shot, trust me. Just get the shots and leave the creativity in post. And if you were to take away anything from this video, when in doubt, shoot your way out. When I say that, I mean if you feel like you don't know if you should capture this interaction during cocktail hour or if it's just gonna kind of be fluff that you'll never use, just capture it. Just make sure you always hit record. No matter what, just hit record. Another thing is that you guys have probably already heard 1,000 times, check focus constantly. Make sure you overshoot and yada, yada, yada. Something that is dire that you guys need to do is to make sure that you hold your shots longer. After a moment is done, don't stop recording till at least 10 seconds after. Make sure that you are shooting 24 frames a second for the ceremony and the speeches. Can't stress it enough. If you don't think you're gonna have enough time to change frame rates throughout the day, stick it at 24 frames a second throughout the whole entire wedding day. Me personally, I shoot 24 frames a second throughout the entire wedding day, unless it's during the actual portrait session of the bride and groom or anything kind of that manner. I stick it to 24 no matter what. During prep, 24, ceremony, 24, speeches, 24, dancing, 24. The only time I'll change it up is during the portraits. But everybody's style and vibe is different. Everybody has different flavors. So be sure to do exactly what you feel like you need to do. Just make sure you do the ceremony and speeches in 24 frames a second. Another thing is make sure you change your batteries before the speeches and before the ceremony. I've had speeches in the past where the bride and groom said that it was going to be quick ones and it ended up being hour-long speeches. Just make sure you change your batteries before the speeches. Do not risk having a dead battery. Trust me. So those are some key tips for before and during the wedding day. Now time for some more technical stuff. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the gear before the wedding day. As far as lavalier mics go, make sure you mic up the groom. The groom is going to be your key player throughout the day. He's going to be your kind of audio source throughout the day. Think of him like a walking microphone. Now, if you have more than one lavalier mic, you can think about miking up the officiant. You can think about miking up the bride. And if you mic up the bride, make sure the mic you have is white or the same color dress that she has, and make sure you have stickies to hide it under her dress and a thigh strap. Just, that is key. The times where you would mic up the groom is during first look, ceremonies, during portrait sessions, and any letters, speeches, private vows, or anything beforehand that you would need to capture audio for. Try not to also stick yourself with a single prime lens. I would 100% recommend using a zoom on the wedding day. A 24-70 is butter, absolute butter. The second you stick yourself with a prime, a 35, a 50, you are limited on the wedding day. And the last thing you want to do is to be limited on your first wedding day. It's just added stress and added anxiety that you don't need. So apart from the lav microphones and apart from the shotgun microphones, if you guys have another audio source that you can use throughout the wedding day, use it. Last but not least, a lot of the times when you find videos on YouTube or if you hit the forums, a lot of people will say if it's a dark venue, use a light. And what I say is that if you have enough time to set up a light, do it. And if you are experienced with how to light, do it. The last thing you want to do is to get so caught up in setting up lights where you just don't have time to set up your camera equipment. Make sure that if you are going to use lights, no matter what lights they are, if they're just a simple on-camera light or if they are a light on an outside source like I'm using here, is a cheap little light, just make sure that you have time to set up things beforehand. If you choose to go that route, if you choose it. Last but not least, make sure you bring a battery charger for all your batteries. Make sure you bring extra AA's, AAA's, any of those batteries that you'll need. Make sure you bring extra everything. And last but not least, just make sure you have fun throughout the wedding day. The last thing you want to do is to feel awkward, feel like you don't belong, feel like you're a fly on the wall, feel like you're being, any of those things. The last feeling that you want is to feel unwelcomed at a wedding day. So make sure you're friendly, make sure you're smiling, and make sure you're having fun and vibing with the crowd. And remember, it is someone's wedding day, So be sure to be cautious of that. It's not a fashion shoot. And like I said, it's somebody's wedding day. You're being hired to film it, so don't f it up. If you follow all these tips, you should be prepared to shoot your first wedding with absolutely no hassle. Of course, you're still gonna feel worried. You're still gonna feel unprepared, but that's completely normal. I still feel unprepared when I shoot weddings. I still feel all that. You're not alone. You're not alone. So ladies and gentlemen, that is it for me. That is all the tips I have for you. Let me know in the comment section below if this video was helpful to you guys in any way, shape, or form. I try not to do the same rinse and repeat cycle like a lot of things that you'll see online. I try to give you guys some more in-depth things of what you should be looking for and interested to. And I try to think back when I was first starting, what I would have wanted to know. So with that, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Come on, come on. Can't turn this goddamn thing off.
Feel like you're restless.